September 11th, 2001. I was working at American Airlines. My hours were from 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. I'd normally leave work, drive about 5 miles, go to my gym, Olympus Gym, work out for about 2 hours, and I'd be coming back across the 14th Street Bridge at about 9:15, 9:17 every morning. And I'd come home, I'd quickly do what I had to do because I was coaching football at the time at Howard University, and I would sleep maybe 4.5 hours, 5 hours, if 5 hours if it was a luxury, and then I'd go up on campus. Well, that particular morning, I was offered overtime, and I stayed till 8 o'clock and then came straight home, prepared for bed. I'm laying in the bed, and at about 9:37, I heard what sounded to be a tractor trailer turning over. There was this boom sound, and it just kept echoing. It was like a boom. And I remember saying to myself, I was half asleep, but I remember thinking, somebody's gonna be in serious trouble for this. Now, while I was asleep and turning over, I could hear military jet aircraft overhead. Now, that was no big deal. Occasionally, military aircraft would fly over the city, but the sound would come and the sound would go. But this time the sound came and the sound stayed. I woke up at around 1 o'clock or so. I'm walking past my middle bedroom, and I'm looking on the floor. My answering machine is there, and I know young folk are not going to believe this, but answering machines used to be a black electronic box or some sort of box, had a cassette tape in it, and you could get well, depending on the length of the tape, you know, you could get messages up to 30 minutes. And I walked past, and the thing is flashing F for full, and I'm thinking somebody's clowning around and he left a 30-minute message. So I start playing these messages back, and I'm hearing from people I hadn't heard from in years. Like, John, you all right? You all right? Give me a call. Next message. Hey man, what's going on? I just want to make sure you're safe. Give me a call. One of my brothers called, and listen to him. The way he sounds, even it could be something serious and you're waiting for the punchline. He's like, hey man, listen, I'm just checking to make sure you're okay. Just call me, man, let me know. Then I get a call from mother. Now we know how mothers can be. Mother's like, you call me right now. No, you call me before now. Now, you just have to know mother, right? She has a way of adding drama to stuff. She can tell you it's snowing outside, and the way she tells you, you think it's something serious. She's like, you call me right now. And so I'm picking up the phone, and I'm thinking, okay, something must have happened at work. Maybe a fuel truck exploded or something. I don't know. I'm dialing. Mom picks up the phone. I'm like, Mom, what's going on? I'm trying to brace myself, right? She says, you haven't heard? I said, no, Mom, what happened? She said, somebody hijacked a plane and crashed into the Pentagon. I said, Mom, are you for real? She says, yeah. I said, Mom, let me call you back. I'm thinking, I gotta verify this thing. Called one of my coworkers, Karen, flight attendant. Now, how do you ask the question, right? So here's what I asked. I said, Karen, did something happen in the past few hours that I may not be aware of? She says, John, are you sitting down? Well, I was sitting down. She says, well, the World Trade Center buildings are no more. Plane crashed into Pennsylvania, and one crashed into the Pentagon. My first question was, were any of them ours? She says, yes, Flight 11 and Flight 77. My second question was, were any of them DC based? She says, yes, Flight 77. She started to go down the crew list, and let me just tell you, I knew them all. Charles Burlingame, naval aviator. I knew Chick for about 10 years. He had been working with American Airlines. I would be in contact with him, cockpit to ground when he was flying. Dave Charlebois was the first officer. I knew him. Renee May was my age. She was a flight attendant. Kenneth and Jennifer Lewis were both flight attendants. They were married to each other. I knew them. Michelle Heidenberger. I had just seen Michelle maybe two or 3 days before. I was going to work, getting off the shuttle bus. She was coming in, passing, hey Michelle, hey John, right? Had no idea that'd be the last time that I would ever see her. MJ Booth was one of our managers who worked at Dulles. She was going to Los Angeles for the day. And then Wilson Flagg, Captain Flagg, we used to call him Bud Flagg, but I didn't find out until years later that he was a retired Rear Admiral in the United States Navy. And he and his wife were on the plane. There were 4 or 5 students from my junior high school who were going to California for a science convention, science fair. And my goodness, I got off the phone with Karen. I'm like, I still need to confirm this. Maybe this ain't really happened. And I ended up calling another friend of mine, T, flight attendant. And when she picked up the phone, T was absolutely hysterical. She's like, John, they're all gone. They're all gone. They're all gone. I mean, years later, she had never gone to the memorial. And I don't know if she's gone. Here it is almost 18, 19 years later. And I'm not sure if she's gone, period. And I remember calling up to campus. Coach Wilson said we were not practicing that day. Everything was shut down. I called the job. Nobody answered for a long time. And finally, when my supervisor answered, he said, this is a national emergency. Nobody's working tonight. Now, I remember the next night, not that night, but the next night, I did go into work. And I was driving across the 14th Street Bridge. And normally when you go across the 14th Street Bridge, you look to your left, you'll see the airport in the distance. And it's illuminated by landing lights, by taxi lights. They were all off. Everything else around was lit up, but there was this vast area that was just completely dark. And I remember, as if it was yesterday, driving. The scent of the Pentagon was still smoldering, and the smoke was coming through into my car. My windows were up. And not long after, they took all the aircraft out of the airport. And so you didn't hear the sound of GPUs, APUs, and it was an eerie silence. I had never experienced that before. Now, years later, many of us have gone our own separate way. Right? But we still pretty much remember each other on September 11th. We were like a family. Dysfunctional at times, but family nonetheless. And I have even met people afterwards who, were a part of that day. Alan Wallace and Vance Valenzo, 2 of my great friends, they were fighting fires that morning at the Pentagon. I have had school groups that I have taken to the memorial. And if there is a silver lining, as horrendous as this thing was, there are a couple of things we must consider. This thing could have been worse. The Pentagon was just being renovated, reinforced. They had only finished one wall of it, and it was the side that was struck. Otherwise, that airplane probably could have gone through all 5 lanes of the Pentagon and ended up in the courtyard. The other thing was, most of those flights, and even the World Trade Center building, weren't full. That was a tremendous, the loss of life could have been a whole lot more. But here's the story I tell my young people when I'm there. We are all here on this playing field of life for a predetermined time. We do not have a say over the quantity of our time. We don't have say as to how long we live. We can eat right, we can do everything to try to prolong it, but really we don't have any say about how long we live. But we do have something to say about the quality of our life, how we live. And I tell these young people every day, listen, what are you saving it for? You leave everything on the field because you don't know if you're going to be on the field tomorrow. So you always have to put your best out, man, because you don't know how long you're going to be on the field. We remember those people, my colleagues, man, my family, we remember them. We miss them. And that day, it You change the lives of everyone. Check out our website at www.jwmhistoryalive.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want more films, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at John W. McCaskill. This is John W. McCaskill, History Alive.